okay, as long as I'm on a tear about the DNC wanting to undermine progressive members of the Democratic Party, who want things like campaign finance reform, who want a country that works for the working class, not for billionaires, who want special interests, PACs, foreign interest out of our government. Let's discuss this quote, because I think this is what is at the heart of my criticism of Ken Martin and the DNC and every goddamn last establishment Democrat. Obviously, let's not forget Chuck Schumer in that pile, who is either doing absolutely nothing to defend democracy, just hoping that Trump will make everybody so miserable that magically everyone will vote for the Democrats in the midterms. Or they are actively assisting this fascist regime by voting for their nominees, voting for their bills, refusing to withhold unanimous consent, vilifying progressive members of the party that are standing up and fighting for the American people. I could go on. But let's look at this quote right here, because this was in a conversation about why more people aren't actively resisting, why more people aren't fighting tooth and nail to save our country. And I would argue that establishment Democrats, wealthy corporate Democrats who are prioritizing their own stock portfolio, the corporations and PACs that donate to their campaigns, their own wealth and power and influence, above democracy, those Democrats that want to uphold the status quo that has been making so many working class Americans absolutely miserable, and I would argue has driven many of them to vote for MAGA and to believe the lies of MAGA that Trump would somehow make America great again. He told them they would all be wealthy and prosperous and not have to pay any taxes anymore, whatever other lies. And again, I know racism was a component of their choice to vote for him. But there is a healthy segment of those folks that voted for Bernie, that voted for Obama, and yet they voted for Trump this time because they're miserable. Every working class person in America knows that our country should not be this way. We know we are stressed. We know we are overburdened. We know we're getting fucked over by corporations, by billionaires, by the super rich. It's just that MAGA, in their righteous frustration, righteous anger over the way the American dream does not feel accessible to them, they chose to believe the lies of a grifter. I think it's Will Westmoreland who says, when he's speaking to America's farmers who voted for Trump, there is no shame in admitting that you were lied to. But so many working class Americans who voted for Trump, they did so because it sucks. It sucks to be a not super wealthy person in the US of A in 2025. And it has sucked for many, many years for a large portion of us. So this quote right here, nobody's fighting because nobody knows what to save. This is a quote from Gil Scott-Heron, who's a very famous jazz poet, spoken word artist. If you are not familiar with his art, this is a great time to discover him. But I think this is very much how it feels to a lot of people right now. And it is very true of the apathy that people felt toward the Democratic Party in the last election that contributed to people staying home, not voting for Kamala, because they don't know what the Democrats are fighting for. Now, yes, we could argue that Kamala did have a comprehensive campaign platform and that she had like this much time to put it together and to run a campaign, and that is not her fault. But when you look at her campaign and some of the more progressive things in it, like that's not in line with what establishment Democrats have been doing for us. What have they been doing for us? Because it feels like they are really prioritizing their big donors, they're prioritizing lobbyists and PACs and foreign interest above the American people. So why would we want to fight for that, right? And that's my criticism of the DNC when they try to punish progressive members of the party who want campaign finance reform, who want to get dark money out of our politics, who want to primary the Democrats who are doing nothing because they don't want to risk the money that they have coming in. And so they are refusing to fight right now and therefore giving tacit approval or sometimes active approval, depending on how they're voting, to this fascist regime. That's a very valid criticism. And by the way, when I tried to talk about that on Blue Sky, white neoliberal men came out of the woodwork to call me things like a cow and a Karen. And I will say this again, I've said it before. When white men call women a Karen, what they really want to say is bitch. They just want to hide behind co-opting AAVE to do it. Someone dared to say that I was holding the DNC hostage because I was choosing not to give them my money, but instead donate to progressive candidates who actually are willing to fight for the American people, who understand that this is a country, should be a country of, by, and for the people, not corporations. that I am choosing to give my money to organizations and electeds who are fighting for democracy, who are not sitting on their hands and hoping it will magically get better in the midterms and will return to the status quo that wasn't working for anybody. And just like the sheer arrogance of thinking that the DNC is entitled to my money and my support. Our electeds work for us. They work for us. And the way that we tell them how we think they're doing is we call, we email, and we choose to vote with our dollars. I am not talking about when a candidate is on the ballot and I will always vote for harm reduction. I've had to hold my nose and vote for Democrats so many times. No, I'm talking about now, understanding that democracy is on the line. Millions of lives are on the line. The future of America is on the line. Why would I give my money to folks who are not willing to fight for the American people? Why would I give my money to folks who are working against us? Who are once again using failing strategies, once again behaving like controlled opposition. I'm going to give my money to the fighters who are fighting for the American people, for the Constitution, for the folks who understand that part of the reason that we are in this position is because the super rich have been fucking us for decades, and it's just been we're getting squeezed harder and harder and harder. The establishment Democrats want us to save something that was actively hurting people. Nobody knows what to save. Well, we know that corporate Democrats are trying to save a system that wasn't working. They want to go back to what we had, that will just loop us around again to what we're in now, because it's ultimately harming hundreds of millions of people so that a few at the top can get richer and consolidate their power. So we have this rift of people who want to go back, and they're fighting to save a system that was hurting all of us. And then we have this group that's like, no. We have a chance to save democracy and to actually institute a democracy that is free of oligarchy. We have a chance now going forward to create the America that we should have had, right? We have a long history of not implementing the values that we say we want. There are evil, selfish, greedy people who always want to consolidate power and wealth and are willing to undercut our values, are willing to hurt other people, hurt the planet, corrupt the system for their own personal gain. And so as long as we are resetting democracy and we are going to make sure that there is accountability for all of the collaborators with fascism, why not use this moment in history to get rid of the policies, the loopholes, the corruption that helped facilitate the rise of fascism in the first place? Why not actually create an America that fulfills our values, that enables all of us to chase the American dream? I've said this before, we live in a country with tremendous wealth that has been consolidated by few at the top who do not pay their fair share, are exploiting us for our life hours, our taxes, our labor, our money, and now our personal data. But we could take that wealth and we could create an America where there's no poverty. We could end poverty immediately if the super rich just paid all of the taxes that they owed, right? Not even taxing them higher. If they just paid the taxes that they owed, we could have universal health care. We could have a high quality of life for everyone. Poverty could be over, homelessness could be over, health care could be provided. We could have functional roads. We could have high-speed rail. We could have safer and more sustainable food cultivation. People could eat richer. We could have a more diverse and abundant diet. There's no need for us to have food deserts. There's no need for us to have industrial agriculture that exploits our laborers, that is absolutely inhumane to the livestock, that has an outsized impact on the planet. The reason that we have that agricultural system is because it makes a couple of really big corporations really, really fucking rich at the expense of our health and the environment, and of course, by adding animal cruelty. We could have an America where college is free. What kind of America do you want to have? Because we are a wealthy nation full of creative, adaptive people. I want to save America to implement that future of a nation that is of, by, and for the people, where the American dream is accessible, where we all have a high quality of life, where we don't have to struggle so hard. That's not unreasonable. That's very doable in this country. But establishment Democrats want to stand in the way. And God knows every single last member of the GOP is standing in the way of that future. Now is the time to push the party toward a winning strategy. Now is the time to support electeds who understand the assignment, the severity of the moment, and what the American people need, what is popular, but also what is good for all of us. We should save America for a future that is good for us. Not for the super rich, not for the billionaires, not for corporations. An America that is good for her people. That's what I'm fighting for. That's what I want to save America for.